What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. Chance and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome everyone to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. In this episode, we're going to discuss the fact the Ravens have finally released their first depth chart of the 2022 season. Just came out August 5th. So we're excited to get right into anything that was surprising, anything that's concerning, anything in that regard. But before we get started, hit the subscribe button, click the notification bell so we can keep you up to date on all your Ravens news. But Jimbo, how should we do this? You just want to throw it up on the screen and we'll get started?
Yeah, let me put it up here and then we'll kind of break it down position by position. Hopefully you guys can see that okay. I'm going to zoom in a little bit.
Cool.
Is that a little better?
Yeah, that helps.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, let's just break it down just like the chart has it. Yeah. I think at wide receiver, just so you guys will read this correctly, not that I'm not questioning anyone's intelligence, only my own. Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay are your 1-2, and then Tylan Wallace, James Prochet, your 3-4. And then after that, I don't know if whatever your ranking is on the depth chart matters at this point. But the one thing that you will notice, Glenn, that you pointed out that we want everyone to notice is that the rookies seem to be at the end of the depth chart, mainly because they're rookies.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Jalen Moore has the distinct advantage over Bailey Gaither or over Demarion Williams, but it seems to be a common theme for the most part that rookies are at the end of the depth chart.
Yeah, and that's no surprise for the Ravens. That's typically how they operate. But let's also point out that, as you can see underlined and in bold at the top of the screen, that this list is compiled by the Ravens PR staff. So according to them, this isn't something that John and Greg Roman and McDonald sat down and mulled over and compiled this list. This apparently is from the PR staff. So we certainly have to take this list with a bit of a grain of salt. But yeah, it looks like they're all at the back end, and you can see them. They've underlined them, so it makes it easy to spot the rookies.
Right. Now, the one thing isn't Bailey Gaither a rookie?
I thought he was it's funny, as you were talking about it, I thought the same thing. I could have sworn he was a rookie, but it's odd that he's not underlined. But maybe that's just a miss. Yeah.
So no surprises at wide receiver, right?
No surprises, but as you stare at the group, since it's the top on the page, it's certainly and you consider the fact that Bateman and Duvernay are down, it's certainly like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, a little scary.
Yeah, a little bit thin after those guys, that's for sure. But yeah, but that we're not here just to talk about that.
Yeah.
More in-depth look at the wide receiver, check out our other video that just went up. But yeah, let's get into some of the surprise. So at left tackle, Ronnie Stanley, of course, still listed as the 1, even though we haven't seen him yet. Juwan James as the 2. What's your thoughts on having Juwan James? Because a lot of people are concerned here, Jimbo. They say, look, is this a similar situation of Alejandro Villanueva in the sense that Juwan James looks like the contingency plan for Ronnie Stanley, and people are going, what? How is a guy who hasn't played in 2 years and has never played left tackle at this level, hasn't played left tackle, in fact, since high school? How is that your contingency plan for Ronnie Stanley?
Yeah, that's another interesting one. But honestly, I'm not too concerned about it. I feel like I have confidence in his ability more than I would Alejandro Villanueva.
But why is that? When Alejandro is a
left tackle
Pro Bowler at left tackle, and Juwan James has never played it.
Because Alejandro Villanueva would never steal a dime from anyone, but he stole millions of dollars from Baltimore Ravens. There was nothing left. There was nothing left in that guy. Like, the dude literally, I mean, think about this. He literally hoped that he could get one contract from the NFL to pay for his master's in business administration. Like, that was his whole entire career goal when he entered the NFL. Like, I think we're talking about guys with 2 different ceilings in the league, right? And I realize he was a Pro Bowler, but I don't know. I have some faith in Juwan James' ability. Well, I know it's been a few years since he's played football, but that could also serve to his advantage. He doesn't have a lot of bumps and bruises at this point. He's had a lot of opportunity to work on his body. And I mean, if he's going full on for it, then I don't know if it's the look. To me, at the end of the day, Juwan James, Tyree Phillips, Juwan James. Now, the only question I have here that I was going to ask you, Glenn, are you surprised that McCary is not there?
Well, I think that what this list shows is that they're only naming a guy and putting him at one spot. Because I think if this was an actual depth chart, we would see Patrick McCary listed as the 2 behind every single starter. So
that's really my question. Okay, so that's my real question. Do you think that McCary is the actual day 1 starter if Ronnie doesn't go?
Well, see, the interesting thing about the left tackle spot is that Juwan is seemingly getting all of the first team reps right now, and we're not seeing a ton of Patrick McCary. But we do know that when Tyler Linderbaum went down, McCary got 100% of the first team snaps at center. So we know for sure that he's the primary backup at center, and we think that he's the primary backup at every other position. It's just that they can't put him at 1 at left tackle right now, because then he'd be getting all the reps, and they want to keep him in that versatile role. So yeah, I think if this was the regular season and something happens to any of these guys that are starters, McCary is the first name that they call upon. My only thing is, if Ronnie's not ready, I don't think they're putting McCary in as the number 1 at left tackle. So I think it's kind of a weird situation at left. I think they're going to try and go with Juwan. But man, that's got me extremely, I feel, if anything, I know that it was the back end of Alejandro's career, but
it was a walking holding penalty. He wrapped everyone around the neck.
He was, but he's also a 3-time Pro Bowler at his best at left tackle, and at Juwan James's best, he was a high school starter.
That's fair. I mean, I can't disagree with you there, but I don't know, man. Alejandro was so done. I think the only thing that kept him there was the opportunity to play against the Steelers, to be honest with you.
And you mentioned the fact that he's not, banged up because he hasn't played, but he also is lacking those calluses that John Harbaugh always talks about because he hasn't played. So it's kind of a,
catch-22.
A bit of one. But let's get into
But really quickly, I was just going to say, let me give you my quick take here. My preference would be, if all things are the same outside of left tackle, I would want McCary to be the number 1, to be the starter week 1 if Ronnie can't go.
I'm just curious why they're not giving him more reps, because I agree with you, but
it is odd. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're just, John talked about McCary briefly, and I heard him say something to the effect of, he's going to get in there and do a good job. He's going to get in there and know what's going on. Something like that. I can't remember his exact words, but maybe they just have faith in the fact that this is his nth year in the system, right? Yeah. Who knows how many years at this point he's been in this system, and he knows what he's doing type scenario. I don't know. Maybe it could be something like that.
Giving Juwan the reps because they feel he needs it.
Yeah.
And they feel pretty good about where McCary is. Okay. All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope you're right.
Let's talk about left guard, Glenn, because I think there's a lot. If any of these positions, there's something to talk about, it's definitely left guard. So I'm just going to read through these, and obviously there's someone missing here, but Ben Powers right now is locked in at the starter. Tyree Phillips, who, like you said, Glenn, the Ravens are begging to take the starting role, seemingly cannot. Jimmy Murray is the number 3, and one you'll notice not here any longer is Ben Cleveland. Talk to me.
Yeah. It's a bit surprising to not see him listed at all at left guard, only being listed as the backup at right guard. Makes you wonder if the experiment of Ben Cleveland moving and transitioning to the left side is just done, and that they're just putting him back at the position he's familiar with from college at right guard and saying, you're our guy for the future. And when Zeitler decides to either move on to a different team or hang up the cleats, you're our right guard. Surprised, but there's just so many options at that left spot, and maybe they feel his mobility is limited, and maybe he's just not able to transition and do things at the opposite side. And we hear how hard it is. We hear Juwan James describe it as trying to wipe with your offhand, which can be dangerous, as anyone who's tried it knows. But yeah, surprising that after just one injury-shortened season, Ben Cleveland at left guard experiment seemingly over, and also surprising to see that Ben Powers maintains the lead at left guard when he's so limited from an athletic and physical standpoint, and has had so many struggles as a pass blocker. He's done some nice things as a run blocker, but there's no doubt the athletic ceiling of Tyree Phillips is far higher than Ben Powers. I'm just surprised that Tyree hasn't been able, because he hasn't missed time. That's been the worry with Tyree, is that he's been banged up. He hasn't missed time so far this camp, and yet he still can't take the job from Ben Powers. Is this is this more of a bad Tyree Phillips, or just an improvement and a better version of Ben Powers?
Something that I heard about the Ravens front office from a source of mine is that they will always, when it comes to the offensive line, they will always play the smarter, tougher player over the more athletic, inconsistent player. And that, I think that solidifies the argument here, right? Because like you said, Tyree Phillips is certainly athletically superior, but when it comes to, yeah, exactly. And physical gifts more superior, but maybe he's just lacking a little bit in the toughness and the consistency of it. Maybe mental lapse are a struggle for Tyree Phillips. Now, look, we also got to give Tyree some slack. And maybe this is why the Ravens don't want to give up on the kid yet. He's still young as a football player. Let's not forget this kid was a JUCO transfer, played, I think, 1 year of high school football.
Something like that, yeah.
JUCO transfer. So he's so young as a football player that, I think this kid will continue to improve and grow as a player. And look, Ben Powers is gone most likely after this year anyway.
Yeah.
So, he'll get a decent contract somewhere. This could be another Bradley Bozeman scenario. And then Tyree has another year under his belt where he's able to learn, grow, and then plug right in. So I am surprised, but once I heard that, it made a lot more sense. So yeah, surprised, not surprised. Also, not surprised about Ben Cleveland. I'm going to say that I called that like 4 weeks ago. That he is now Zeitler's backup, and that's all it is.
Which means at least if you look at the reputation and history of Kevin Zeitler, Ben Cleveland will not be playing very much until
not much football this year, Ben. Ben Cleveland. Now, the other thing I want to mention here is we mentioned at the beginning that in the majority of the cases, the rookies ended up at the back end of the depth chart, except one. Who we got, Glenn?
Yeah, Tyler Linderbaum leads the way at center. Not very surprising if you've seen any bit of practice. He's taken all of the reps at first-team center, except for when he went down and Patrick McCarry, who you see listed at number 2, took over for 100% of the first-team reps after Tyler was out. But he is out. They obviously were just. I mean, I guess it's not fair to say handing him the job, but they were, but they did it in expectation he's ready to be handed the job, and he's certainly done everything to work his butt off and to make sure he's ready. But do you think that listing him as the only rookie starter is a little bit either unfair to the rest of the rookies, or is it too much to be putting on the shoulders of Tyler Linderbaum?
Neither.
Okay. All right.
I don't think it's unfair to the rookies, because if the rookies were if they were this much better than the guys in front of them, you better believe, rookie or not, undrafted or not, they would be number 1 on the depth chart.
What do you think? Number 1? Do you think day 1 of OTAs or day 1 of training camp, Tyler Linderbaum is better than Patrick McCarry?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Think about how well he was scout, or what am I trying to say? How well he was, how well he graded out. Coming out of college
in the decade. Yeah.
Right. And I mean, think about that in comparison to an undrafted guy. Even though he's been in the league for a few years, like there's a ocean of difference between the comparisons between these two guys coming out of school.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think he's deserved it. When you are the best at your position in a decade, I mean, that's basically saying he's the Andrew Luck of centers.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you make Andrew Luck here?
He's the Quentin Nelson of centers.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's the projection, right?
Yeah.
So, sure, Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Now, how worried should Tristan Colon be that Patrick McCarry was selected as number 2? And they could have put Patrick McCarry anywhere at number 2, but they chose to do it at center. What's that mean for Tristan Colon?
Yeah, it's a problem because the only way this guy makes the team is as the surefire backup center. And something that you mentioned, Glenn, is that, you know, since Tyler's been out, McCarry's been taking 100% of the snaps at center as with the ones. That's a problem because I don't know how else he makes this team because he doesn't have a ton of versatility. He's excellent at snapping the football. But, you know, outside of that, I don't see him getting thrown in at guard on either side of the center. So I don't know, man. It's a tough shot for him. And he's had some moments where he's looked good. So it'll be really interesting to see how this shakes out.
Yeah, and I also heard another nugget of information from Harbaugh's last presser that he mentioned with Tyler out. We will also be seeing some guys filtered in at center.
On an emergency basis, right?
On an emergency basis, yeah. And he mentioned Ben Powers being one of the guys. And yeah, I think that's another thing that kind of spells that it could be the end of the time for Tristan Colon, because if you're already talking about, you know, emergency centers and stuff, that just tells me that it's likely you won't have a third center on the roster behind Patrick McCarry, and that you may need to have a plan for what if Tyler's out and something happens to McCarry, because so I think Tristan Colon at best at this point right now is fighting for a practice squad spot, and that unless Tyler is out for an extended period of time, then yeah, he's in big trouble making the team. But let's get into, so no surprises at right guard, other than the fact that Ben Cleveland's only listed as the backup there, and no surprises at right tackle. I think Daniel Fa'alele, in my opinion, is the backup right tackle. It's just he's only listed as the third because of the fact that he's a rookie.
And I do think the few things that John has said about him, he's impressed.
Yeah, no doubt. The guy is just a mountain of a human being. It's insane to see him up close and in person. Then the tight end room, again, I don't think any real surprises, but I also don't trust and believe that this depth chart is at all accurate, Jimbo. Right. Not at all. Like, where would you put Isaiah Likely in reality right now?
Number 2? Yes. I mean, where else?
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, like, where else do you put the kid? I think he's done nothing but deserve to be at number 2. 100%. So yeah, I agree with you. That's the accuracy of this is certainly something to ponder about. Let's keep going here. Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley. Obviously, I mean, we don't really need to go much further than that. Brett Hundley and Anthony Brown. I don't know what their future is with the Ravens, but 1 and 2 is as expected. Fullback Patrick Ricard and Ben Mason. Talk about an ocean of difference between the two. It's not close.
When you see them, there's no athletic advantage for Ben Mason, and there's a huge physical advantage for Patrick.
Yeah, it looks like they play different positions. Like that Ben Mason accidentally wandered into the position group that Patrick Ricard.
You know what it looks like? If anyone out there is a gamer and you do any of the create a character modes, if you created a fullback, Ben Mason would be like the first like where you start, and Pat Ricard is after you've done all the drills and upgraded him to the fullest extent. Then so it's like you got the starting point and you got the ending point in Pat Ricard.
That's funny. Let's see. So running backs is another topic of discussion here. Obviously, JK and Gus are out, but the way that, are we reading this correctly, Glenn? Is it Gus, then Mike Davis, Justice Hill, Corey Clement, Nate McCrary, and Tyler Beatty? I think so, right? Yeah.
I think that's how it is, yeah.
So Mike Davis looks like he's locked up the 3 spot. Are you surprised that Justice Hill is in front of a Corey Clement or a Nate McCrary?
I'm not so surprised he's ahead of Nate McCrary. I tell you what, I think in reality, Tyler Beatty is much higher. The guy has been ultra impressive so far in camp. So I think he's only where he is because of his rookie status. And I think in reality, the only person that Justice Hill is in front of on this list is Nate McCrary and maybe Corey Clement, only because of the versatility he brings as a special teamer. But as a running back, I think maybe he's ahead of Nate McCrary, but even that is debatable. just as a pure running back. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that, like, and let's say you take the little star away from the name of Dobbins and Edwards, and they're back healthy. Do you still think that Mike Davis is the guy to back those guys up, or do you think he's only listed as the 3 because he has to get all the first team reps with those first 2 out?
I think Mike Davis is still the guy.
Okay.
What do you think?
Well, the only question, I mean, see, what's good about Mike is he can, he's shown that he can catch the ball. He he's not just a one-trick pony type of guy, which you'll need to be if you're the 3rd guy. But I wonder how many running backs are they going to be able to keep with the depth of the tight end room, the fact that they have a fullback, which is unconventional compared to most teams. Tyler Beatty, to me, has to make the team because he was a draft pick. And, of course, so does Dobbins and Edwards. So if there's 3 locks right there, are they keeping 4? Because if they're keeping 4, is it Davis? Is it Hill? Is it Clement?
Man, it's going to be a race to the finish.
Yeah,
for sure. Because Corey Clement has looked good. John's been complimentary of him. Justice Hill looks like he's in incredible shape. And Mike Davis has played well. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that plays out. But I do think it's 4.
Okay. And I tell you, we were talking about how Corey Clement is so impressive physically. And when John was asked about, that was the first thing he brought up was how impressive he is to look at. Like, the dude is just, I mean, his legs, his arms.
Chiseled stone, dude. Like, he looks like stone chiseled into a human.
It is crazy how physically impressive that guy is. But yeah, so keep a lookout on this running back room, especially if we see the return of Dobbins, which kind of John hinted at could be in the near future.
And we're going to be keeping you updated certainly on this situation, keeping you updated. All right, so let's move over to the defense here. All right, so the defensive tackle spot, let's see, we got Metabike, then Broderick Washington, Isaiah Mack, Rashad Nichols. No real surprises there. And you got.
I'd like to hear a little more from Justin Metabike during this camp. Haven't heard.
Been quiet, right?
Thing, dude. Haven't seen him. Haven't heard about him. Are you there, Justin? I mean, you're listed as the number 1, so obviously the PR staff thinks you're doing some well. But man, I'd like to hear his name a little more often.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't disagree with you there. Now, the nose tackle spot, Michael Pierce, Travis Jones, and Aaron Crawford. Of course, everyone's been hyping up Travis Jones, but Mike also has been looking good as well. So that's going to be a fun group to watch, similar with Brandon and Mike back in the day. We'll probably have a similar breakdown as far as play percentage, in my guess, between Mike and Travis.
But Travis is a very different player than Brandon Williams, that's for sure.
No. But what I mean is that, I felt like Mike brought the pass rush when he was young.
Oh, true. Yep.
And now, Mike's still going to bring the pass rush, but he's the vet kind of bringing along the young guys.
He's the anchor now.
Right. Who certainly is more athletic than him. I think he'll concede to that. Right.
Yep.
And so Calais Campbell, of course, and Brent Urban. Man,
that's
this
group right there, man.
Yeah, this group has got me so excited. I wish that we had this much excitement around the wide receivers. Unfortunately, we don't. But you can't have it all. Because Brent has looked excellent in camp. Calais looks like he's in great shape. Man, I can't wait to get these guys out there. Yeah, Calais, Brent, and Travis out there on field goals.
Yeah, that's a lot of size. I mean, you're talking 6'9", 6'8", and 6'6" with length and explosion. Yeah, that's a scary group. Now, outside linebacker room, let's see. The rush end is Dafe Owe, who's looked absolutely phenomenal. Justin Houston listed as the primary backup, which I find funny because I fully anticipate those two being on the field a ton together. So it's kind of funny how they have them listed. Then, of course, the vet, Stephen Means, then Chuck Wiley, and the David Ajabo rounding out the group. Of course, waiting for him to continue to rehab. I thought that, I don't know if you've seen it, Jimbo, but Marlon Humphrey, I mean, he's a treasure. He goes right up to David Ajabo in the locker room and starts questioning him as to why he was holding out, questioning the signing bonus he was hanging on for. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Ajabo looked like he was like, what the heck is he sticking a camera in front of my face and asking?
He's pretty frustrated.
Yeah, so I thought that was hilarious. But Ajabo, of course, will fly up this depth chart as soon as he's back on the field.
You know why he didn't want to tell him the sign-on bonus, right?
Why is that?
He didn't want to take those fools to dinner.
Well, look, that's part of the rookie hazing. And
Shoot,
I just hope our veterans aren't as dude. There's some vets out there that ordering the rare, expensive alcohol that's like hundreds of dollars for a cup of it.
You realized how fast I would. Hey, I gotta go run to the bathroom real quick and just walk out.
Bounce
I'm
right
so
on the squad.
stingy, dude. I would just deuce.
Like, I don't mind doing a veteran dinner, but don't take advantage of the situation and order. Like, I heard some vets will just order like Cristal and then just pour it out right in front of you as they look you in the eyes. Like, nah, you're not treating me that disrespect. I'll buy you a nice steak dinner. That's fine. But, you know, let's not get crazy with the rare King Henry VIII, whiskey that is aged for 400 years. Nah, we ain't doing that. But anyway, let's get into the next position. Josh Bynes listed as the starter at inside linebacker. Behind him is Christian Welch and my guy and roster hopeful Jacoby McClain. So no surprises there. Then on the weak side, Pat Queen.
Wait, so it was McClain that had the interception?
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah,
you're right.
Yep, he took over number 49 from Chris Board. And then at the weak side, Pat Queen, then Malik Harrison, then your guy and roster hopeful Josh Ross from Michigan, and then Diego Fago rounding out the group. You know, Malik Harrison is an absolute gigantic human being. I just wonder. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Malik Harrison. I just wonder if he has the necessary athleticism and if he.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know what will be of Malik Harrison, and it's going to be really interesting to see. But no surprises here. Let's keep moving on to the Sam position. Of course, we got Tyus Bowser, and unfortunately, Vince Beagle's out for the season. But Tyus Bowser, who's also on the PUP list.
Yeah, that's a bad looking group right there, Jimbo.
Yeah, but look, Dalen Hayes has looked really good, and I know it sounds crazy, but so has Jeremiah Moon.
Yep.
They've both been playing really good football. And so, I'm excited to see how those guys shake out in preseason. I have a lot of faith in Dalen Hayes' ability, and I'm just excited about what Jeremiah Moon can bring as a potential wild card. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be honest, Justin Houston's listed as the backup, where really you could just slide Justin Houston into that spot and he could perform well. And then let's get into some of the cornerbacks. Of course, at one side, Marcus Peters listed as the starter, followed by Brandon Stevens, Robert Jackson, and Pepe Demarion Williams. So I heard a bit of a nugget about Demarion Williams. I want to see how it kind of hits your ear. They talked about Justin Tucker was given the opportunity to end practice 40 minutes early by hitting a field goal. And, of course, when that's the stakes, the defense isn't trying to block the field goal. They're not trying to mess up the concentration of Justin Tucker because they want the practice to end 40 minutes early too, because it is insanely hot in Baltimore in the afternoon in August. But one player didn't have that reaction. Pepe Williams still trying to win the rep, still trying to distract the offensive player in Justin Tucker and hoping he misses. And he had his teammates going, what is this guy doing? We want practice to end early. What's your take on Demarion still trying to win the play and distract Justin Tucker?
Yeah, I like it. I understand why everyone's concerned, and not concerned, but like they're like, dude, really? But hey, he's being competitive, man. He just looks like he eats, breathes, and really lives football.
Yeah.
Just loves being out there. Look, the kid played at Houston, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Yeah, my brother got married in August in Houston.
Oh, so he isn't a problem. Okay.
No, this is winter time, bro. Like, it's disgustingly hot. Like, infuriating.
Like, you're angry at the sun.
So mad. Just angry all the time. So this is nothing. He ain't worried about it. 40 minutes. What's that?
Okay.
I'm excited to see what this kid can do. I know they really like him. All right, let's see here. So obviously we got the other corner. Oh, let me scroll down a little bit. I'm like, Glenn, why aren't you scrolling down, dude? What's your problem? I'm the one in charge of here. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me zoom out a touch. Here. Oh.
It's touchy. It's touchy.
There we go. All right. So strong safety, Chuck Clark, Tony Jefferson. I mean, Tony has played well. Dude, obviously had a great play.
His coverage, Jimbo. I mean, should we stop sleeping on him? Just stop calling him just a box safety only?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think Tony Jefferson pre-injury is back. End of story. And Tony Jefferson, pre-injury, was a solidified, bona fide starter in the NFL.
Dude, our safety room is ridiculously talented. Like,
yeah.
Can you, I don't think, there's no chance there's another safety room that even comes close to the talent. It's top to bottom in this room.
Yeah, not a chance. No chance. I mean, and Geno Stone has made some plays.
Like, Tony Jefferson's going to fight to make the team. Like, that's
crazy.
That's insane to me how good he's playing.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And then, of course, next to them at free safety, you got Marcus Williams. No surprise there at number 1. Number 2, Kyle Hamilton, obviously our number 1 overall picked at 14. The All-American out of Notre Dame, who people are, a lot of people consider to be the best defensive player in the draft this year.
Yeah.
Really impressive. And he's had some moments, ups and downs in camp, but I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. And then our Darius Washington recovering from injury. It's going to be a struggle there. So it's going to be interesting. Let's move on to corner, unless you got any other comments on the free safety there. So corner, we got Marlon Humphrey, of course, Kyle Fuller and Kevon Seymour, who coach talked about.
Yeah. And we've seen up and down. Like, we've seen some really nice plays, and we've seen him kind of be on the bad end of some highlights.
But I tell you what, with John Harbaugh more than any other coach, you can save yourself on special teams.
And he's a DB. He in his playing days, he was a DB. He's a former DB coach.
Right.
So he certainly understands the struggles a DB would have in training camp. When a lot of times.
What would John in college look like lining up against any receivers in the NFL?
I think he would get absolutely cooked. But I will say this. I bet he was a physical dude at the line of scrimmage. Like, just a scrappy.
Could he press Marquise Brown, or is Marquise too fast? Is there a chance?
I think if he gets his hands on Marquise, I think Marquise might be in a little trouble for a second. But if he gets a step on John, if Marquise gets any step on John, it's goodbye.
Could he get past him running backwards? Probably.
I can't imagine John was ever very fleet of foot, but he did play corner at the college level, so you got to give credit where it's due. And I got to imagine he'd get his hands on you. He was a pretty physical player. But, the back end of the roster also has a guy like Jalen Armour-Davis, who I think has been making a ton of plays, impressing the coaches. They love his attitude. His play attitude is really spectacular. The maturity beyond his years. I mean, I think you look at the fact that I think he got married at 19, had his first child at 20, is not a typical rookie, in that he's not looking to it's all about football and being a family man. This isn't a guy who's looking to see where he can buy an expensive car, maybe hit the clubs. No, this is a guy who's all about football, then family. So certainly mature beyond his years. Let's see what he can do as he continues to try and climb the depth chart. Kyle Fuller, I tell you, he's listed as the third corner. Him and Brandon are fighting to be the third corner. Kyle Fuller has had some plays where he's been on the bad end of a few as well. Yeah. Do you think he's a lock to make the roster when you consider? I think he's a lock.
He got a decent side. What was his deal?
I think he's got to be a favorite, but I look at Peters, Marlon, Stevens, Demarion, and Jalen Armour-Davis as 5 stone cold locks, right? So that would mean that they're keeping 6, and that means why are Robert Jackson, David Vereen, Denzel Williams, and Kevon Seymour even here? Because they're not keeping 7. I guess they're hoping for, I guess you never really hope for an injury ahead of you, but they're
planning for it, right? Like based on Murphy's Law.
How can they make the team without it?
Yeah, it's a good point. But Kyle has had his up and downs, that's for sure.
Had a horrible year last year by some people's standards.
Yeah, but the hard thing is, like, how do you go away from a known commodity, right? Like,
yep.
So that's the difficult part of it. But that'll be interesting, and we'll definitely keep our eyes on that. Make sure we keep you guys up to date. Special teams, really quick, just to wrap it up. No surprise, Jordan Stout, Justin Tucker. Jordan Stout again is the holder, and Nick Moore. Our emergency holder, we learned, is Mark Andrews. So,
and then
that wraps it up.
Well, kick return, Devin Duvernay, punt return, Devin Duvernay, and no surprise, backing up the kick return, Justice Hill, backing up punt return is James Prochet. But we also saw that Demarion Williams can do it. Slade Bolden, we saw a ton when we were out at camp, making every catch. I didn't see a punt dropped by anybody. And so that's encouraging to know that if something were to happen to Devin and Prochet wasn't able to step in, we got a plethora of guys that could go in there and at the very least secure the ball and get it to number 8.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. All right, guys. So that's it. Let us know your thoughts. Any surprises like we mentioned. Give us all your comments below.